Whether you're looking for answers to specific life questions or seeking to become the best version of you possible, welcome to the Mental Breakdown and Psychreg podcast, where we offer insight, information, and strategies based upon research and years of practice as clinical psychologists. So sit back, have a listen, and get connected with our hosts, Dr. Berney Wilkinson and Dr. Richard Marshall. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about some reasons why we resist psychological healing. What we're really talking about is
forgiveness. And this was a little bit confusing. When we first came upon this article, it's something that we talk about frequently,
right,
about people resist treatment. They resist doing what they need to do, whether it's diet,
right,
or psychological, emotional, behavioral. There's resistance.
Right.
Okay. But as we got into the article, it was very clear that this is really about forgiveness,
right?
Okay, which was a little bit. So we thought, well, let's take a look at this, and as it turns out, the author is giving really good advice,
right?
So we thought, well, let's share that advice with our listeners.
Yeah. So this article comes from Psychreg, our blog, psychreg.org, and it is written by Emily Hooks.
Right.
She has everything about forgiveness.
She has a whole
Academy.
World.
Yeah,
around
she wrote a
this
book
idea.
called The Power of Forgiveness, and here she's talking about maybe some reasons why we resist the need to forgive.
We should interview her.
That would be good. We should get in touch with her.
But I don't know where she's from. She has what does she call it? The Healing Center for Forgiveness.
Forgiveness Academy.
Forgiveness Academy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where it is. But she appears to be a specialist in this area of forgiveness.
Yeah.
So there's things in here we wanted to pass on.
Right. So, the I love it that she starts out the column with a quote from Einstein.
Yes, right.
And the quote is, do I live in a friendly or hostile universe? Right. And when you're thinking about forgiveness, that's a great place to start. What kind of world, what kind of universe is it that you live in or choose to live in?
Right.
And I make that differentiation pretty specifically, that there's a difference between the world that you live in and then the world you choose to live in.
Oh, okay.
Is it? We don't have to go that direction, but it's just.
Well, I was also thinking that there are people who see the world as a very dark and dangerous place, and others who see it as a lovely place to be.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And when I saw that quote by Einstein, I thought, I didn't know he weighed in on that one too.
Yeah.
But that's what is your worldview? Because that will affect your ability to forgive.
Right. Right. And she lists three reasons, or three primary reasons for why we resist the tendency or resist forgiving.
Right.
Why? Because we're going to have reason to forgive.
Right.
Something's going to happen where somebody's going to do something wrong. Somebody's going to do something that's going to bother or upset you or disrupt something in your life.
Right.
And you're going to be left with the decision to forgive or not.
That's right.
And so she gives three reasons why we tend to.
And we all struggle with that. You have to forgive and forget. We hear that phrase all the time. Well, how do you forget something so traumatic or so damaging? Okay.
Yeah.
But forgiveness is a different issue altogether.
Right.
You can't forget because it's seared into your brain. But decision making, forgiveness is a conscious decision making process.
Yeah. And I didn't prepare you for this, but I'm going to throw a little curveball in here in just a minute, because and this is another reason why I think it would be great to talk to Emily, because I have some questions. Because I was just talking to a patient about this last week, about the idea of forgive and forget.
Right.
Because we can't forget, and sometimes we work really hard to forgive.
Right.
And we make the decision to forgive. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't still affect us.
Right. Which is okay.
Right. But we just have to acknowledge that. You're not going to forgive something or forget something, and all of a sudden it's erased from existence. That's not going to happen. It's going to still be there. And so, but that's a different podcast. We don't talk about that today.
But one of the things that we didn't mention as part of her introduction is she says that you can't move on to decision making And I would just say you can't move forward until you have forgiven.
Right.
So forgiveness, for her, forgiveness is the last step in the process.
Right.
And until you forgive somebody, you can't move on.
Right.
Okay.
And so one of the reasons why we don't move on, one of the reasons why we don't begin the process of forgiving is because we don't understand the benefits of forgiving.
Right.
And this is, I think we've talked about this before in a previous podcast, but there is a lot of benefits to forgiving, both psychologically, but also physically.
Right.
When you're harboring frustration and resentment and anger and all those kinds of negative things that tend to be relieved when we forgive, we're doing damage to our body because of the exposure to different hormones and different things in our body that does damage.
And when we talk, we don't understand the benefits, and because it's not something that we teach very well. Right. We say to the young children, well, you have to forgive, you have to forgive them. What do you mean by that? Does it have to be I don't want to forgive that person, okay? But forgiving publicly and forgiving privately are two different things.
Right.
And what she's talking about here is more private forgiveness than making it public. I forgive you and we'll be friends now. No,
right.
It can be a private forgiveness.
Right. The real forgiveness.
Right.
Not the superficial forgiveness, but the real forgiveness.
Yeah, so what do? We tell kids, you have to go apologize
to
him. So you have to go apologize. Well, that's a good start, but it's only a start.
Yeah.
And we have to teach kids about forgiveness. And most of us were never taught and you're told, well, if you forgive, you'll feel better. I don't always feel better when I forgive. So that's not really true. Okay. So most of us don't understand the value of forgiveness.
The second thing is that we don't know how to forgive.
That's right.
And so going with what you were just talking about, sometimes we don't really do a very good job of teaching how you actually forgive.
That's right. That's right. I don't think I've ever been taught.
Right.
I mean, nobody's ever discussed this with me.
Right. And so we have to learn how, and some of the aspects of learning how to forgive are complicated.
Right.
Because it's not, again, it can be words, but there is to truly forgive, there is a deep meaning, a deep drive to release and to let go of things that have happened, and some of that emotional turmoil that you're experiencing that's the triggering the need to forgive. And sometimes that's really difficult, but that in and of itself, just this second thing here, is a huge process.
Right.
Because to forgive, you have to really understand what you're forgiving.
Right. Because there are always two parts to forgiveness. One is, I'm going to forgive you for what you did. That's really difficult because you may not want to. Okay. Especially if you've hurt my children, I'm going to have a real hard time forgiving you for that.
Right.
However, and I think she's talking about this, and this is what I would like to talk to her about, and why I'd like to interview her. I can forgive you and unburden myself by forgiving you. So I may still resent you for what you did.
Right.
But I'm going to unburden myself and step away from this anger, step away from this control. Okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's what she's talking about here.
I'm gonna take it a step maybe in a different direction. Because the other thing is, again, is recognizing what you're giving forgiveness for. Right. So if you have a friend, let's say that your friend, your best friend took your boyfriend. Your boyfriend broke up with you and started dating your best friend. And you get to the point of forgiveness. Well, what are you forgiving her for? You may be forgiving her for taking your boyfriend. That's the obvious thing, right?
Right.
But that's not what you're forgiving for. That's not what you need to forgive her for. You need to forgive her for the betrayal that you feel, the abandonment that you feel, the sabotage that you feel.
Right.
There's a lot of underlying deep, challenging emotions and feelings and stuff that you're really needing to forgive for. And that's why sometimes we say, I forgive you for, taking my boyfriend. but we continue to have stress in our relationship, and we never become the friends that we were before, or recover to the friendship that we had before.
Right.
But it's because the what you really needed to do the forgiveness for, you didn't reach that point.
Right. That's right.
And so when you're understanding what you're forgiving, that's when it comes to the second thing of we don't know how to forgive. We don't know how sometimes because we don't know what we're forgiving.
Right.
And that's a really important piece, and that's another thing that I'd love to talk to her about.
Right.
Now the third thing is that we get something out of not forgiving.
Right.
When we don't forgive, we keep getting to feel this.
We get to keep those negative feelings.
Right.
Right.
And sometimes having those negative feelings validates our thoughts. It validates our perspective of things. So if I'm angry about it, then that means that, it really was as bad as I think it was, because look how angry I am.
That's right.
And look how mad I am at that person. So it really must have been as bad as I think it was.
And I want to hang on to that.
Yeah.
I want to be angry for a long time. And
Yeah.
we all have people in our lives, family members, friends, coworkers, who want to hang on to that.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's the other part of this, that it damages us.
Right.
That's what damages us.
Yeah.
Is holding on to all those feelings.
Right. And I think that the converse of this, perhaps, maybe it's the converse of this, is that when we forgive, sometimes we get something from it that we don't want.
Right.
How many times have you forgiven somebody and, truly forgiven somebody and worked to rebuild that relationship, and somebody else says, I can't believe that you're still talking to her.
Right. Exactly.
How could you possibly forgive her for that? That was, so now you're getting some negative reinforcement or negative punishment, perhaps, from somebody else that, doing something that you needed to do to resolve this psychological conflict that you have inside ends up leading to other problems, because now somebody else is giving you some critique for making that decision. So we don't get we get something out of not forgiving, but we also get things that we don't want out of forgiving sometimes.
That's right.
Well, that's complicated.
But how do we? The fact that we don't know how to forgive, that nobody ever teaches us how to do that, right? One of the things is along the lines of what you were talking about. We have to acknowledge our own pain with, what was it?
Right.
What was it that hurt us?
Right.
Okay. So that's the first thing you have to do is say,
so what are you forgiving?
What am I forgiving?
Yeah.
What part of this do I want to work on? And the second step is we have to respond. Our response has to be. She uses the word tender and compassionate. It can't be. We have to start to dissolve our own anger.
Right.
Okay. And so we have to start. If we're going to forgive, we have to start to become more compassionate, more a little more tender about the issue. It doesn't have to be directed at the other person yet, but we have to start to dissolve our own anger. And then the last one is we have to know why we're letting go, why we're approaching that particular aspect of, what are we forgiving, and we have to know why we're doing that, why we're forgiving that thing. Right. What's the reason for doing it?
Right.
Because I think that's the biggest problem is people say, well, you have to forgive. But if you're not being specific about what you're forgiving,
or why you need to forgive it,
it's okay, I forgive you, but you don't really mean it.
Right.
Whereas if I say, I'm going to forgive you for doing this, for creating this feeling inside me, I'm going to forgive you for that, then it's specific.
Right.
But we need to teach kids this vocabulary, to give them these words, to say, you have to identify what you're forgiving.
Right.
That would be a huge step for kids to learn.
That would be the learning part. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So
that's step 2. We don't know how.
Right.
Then the third thing is we get something
out of not forgiving. Right.
Out of not forgiving. Okay. We can remain a victim.
Right.
And some people love to be the victim, and as long as I don't forgive you, I can maintain my victim status.
Right.
Okay? And that's what I really enjoy.
Right.
I love being a victim.
Right.
I don't, but you do.
Right. So we get to hold on to
I
that.
love
We
being
get
a
to,
victim.
and we get to hold on to being angry. We get to hold
on
on
to your anger. And we get attention from others. Oh, you poor thing. She hurt you so badly, you know.
Right.
You know, when you see people relationships break up. And you can get a lot of mileage out of being the victim of a breakup.
Yeah.
You know, your friends feel sorry for you. And you know, if you hang on to that for a long time, you get a lot of attention. Hey, come to the beach house this weekend. We'll have a good time, and you can forget about that, and we can do the healing process.
Nobody ever invited me to a beach house after somebody broke up with me.
Nobody ever broke up with you.
Well, that's not true.
That's true.
No.
No.
Yeah, you're bringing up a lot of emotions right now. So.
Tender emotions. No,
so,
I don't think we'll get to tender emotions from you.
No, right now.
But people do hang on to it, okay? And so this forgiveness process, it is a process, okay? And make sure that you examine yourself. You know, what am I forgiving? Right. And then why am I hanging on to it? Do I like anger? Do I like victim? Do I like the attention?
What am I getting out of it?
That's right. What am I getting out of it?
Absolutely.
Yes, we need to bring this.
It's a tough thing.
We need to spend. We need to do an interview with this woman.
Yeah, let's see if we can get in touch with her.
So that's an invitation. Okay. So, love to get in touch. We do know how to get in touch with her.
Yeah.
Right. Because we have a website.
Yeah.
Do we?
She's a writer on our blog, so we can get in touch with her through there.
It'd be easy to get
on
in touch with
psychreg.org. So perfect.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, and we'll have the link to the show in the show notes to the specific column, so you'll be able to read it and get a little bit more information from it yourself. So, all right. Well, that is it for today. Right? You have anything else? Good. All right. Until next time.
Yes, I do, but it's too late.
Is it?
No. I don't have anything else. No, I don't.
No. All right. If you say so. Until next time, stay happy. No? You didn't have anything else? I thought you were going to say something else. All right.
No.
So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.